Hello drone racers, this is the Jumper X68S. It is a tiny whoop and it looks a lot like the others we've flown. It looks exactly like an Inductrix FPV. It also looks a lot like the King Kong tiny whoop that we've used, but there's something different about this. See those little things? See how cute those are? Those are brushless motors. This is a brushless tiny whoop. It's not a brushless micro drone. It's really a brushless tiny whoop in total tiny whoop size. These are 15,000 RPM motors, but it uses the same props that the other tiny whoops use. Not the King Kong, but all the Eachines. It's the same props as the Eachine. It has an F3 flight controller in it. It has a built-in camera that looks pretty good. Built-in one board. It's an omnibus board with the ESCs built into it, and it's controlling all of the brushless motors. It's really, really tiny. This has been around for a while, and honestly, if you've seen any reviews, it's been hit or miss for people, so we're gonna see how it goes for us. I usually don't recommend things that are hit or miss, except the deal for this is it's now on clearance. And it was originally $140, and I will say right off the bat, not worth $140. Now it's $60, and I've only got a couple flights on it, but I'm thinking it might be worth 60 bucks because it's been pretty sweet for me. We're gonna take a look at getting it set up because it's a little harder to set up than some of the others, but it's not difficult at all. We'll do our traditional hover test just to see how long it flies with the batteries, and then we'll do some flights around the basement so you can see how it flies by comparison. In the box, it comes with a battery and then this weirdo little cable. So this is a USB cable, and it has a JST-SH connector on both sides that connects into it. But it's interesting because there's no JST connector on here, so I'm going to show you how to get it all set up because it took me a few minutes to figure it out. Also, on the bottom, you can select your channel for your video. There are dip switches in here, and online there is a manual in order to set those. In order to get this all set up, I have the FreeSky version, surprise, surprise, and you do have to remove this cover. So you need a teeny tiny little screwdriver, a really tight screwdriver. If you have a kit with a hobby kit, it probably comes with a screwdriver that will be tight enough for this. That's where this one comes from. And I have a couple of these kits and they work. So just take these two screws all the way out, and we'll take a look at the inside, and then we'll get everything connected up to Betaflight, which is what it comes with. So once you have the cover off, there is a camera connected here, and it's just slid onto pins right there on the flight controller. I have the FreeSky version, so this is the FreeSky flight controller that they have actually soldered to the board. So that is a permanent addition there. The white pin is to the back, so you'll want to keep track of that, and then this cable simply just slides off. One of the things I want to show before we get any further, I love the way these motors are attached to the frame. This is a tiny whoop frame, but they've made it just a little bit different, and these little bitty motors actually screw onto the frame, and it's kind of like an upside down motor. Usually you're used to motors sitting this direction, except they've just connected them backwards, and there's no reason. The shaft is the shaft. It connects through all the way and supports the prop on this side. So as a bonus in this video, if you buy one of these, I'm going to show you how to do a repair because I just noticed I broke my frame. I had a couple really hard crashes earlier. I originally tried to set it up with this. I thought this might be the great option to go with this DYS ELF remote that we reviewed earlier. It's only $25, but it did not work. This thing kind of freaked out when it was flying on there. I would fly a little bit away and it would freak out. So at this point, I'm not recommending this radio. It did cause me to break the frame. So after we go through and get everything set up, I will go through a quick little frame repair as well. So what you'll see here is, in addition to the 3 pins that the camera was connected to, it's really hard to even see. There's 4 pins right here. So there's 4 pins there, and you take this micro JST-SH connector, set the pins, so the metal you see on the outside, and it goes on this direction. I'm not going to do this on camera because I need to look at it closer, but it slides right on there, trust me. There we go. So now you can see how it fits. You do have to take off the camera connector because they do not fit at the same time. So now we have this connected, and we will look at Betaflight. One thing I did have to do on this that I never ever have to do is I did have to calibrate the accelerometer. It was way off. It was like this, where my drone was flat and it was like there. So I just set it flat, hit calibrate accelerometer, and that worked fine. Ports are fine. I didn't have to do anything there. In configuration, the only thing I have changed is I turned on motor stop because I like motor stop. Everything else was just fine. PID tuning, they do have some custom PIDs. I have not changed those at all. Receiver, Because I'm using a Tyrannus Plus, I changed this. This shipped with the default, which is AETR. I changed this to Spectrum JR, and it is now TAER, and that works just fine. And in modes, the only thing they had set up was angle. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I changed mine. So I set an arm on aux 1. I actually have this wrong. Maybe that's why things were a little bit weird. There we go. I actually have mine wrong here. So I'm going to fix that in the process. I have ARM on aux 1. I have air mode. I'll go ahead and turn on my radio so you can see what these are doing. There we go. So now they're all set up, and I have ARM on aux 1. I have air mode and angle and horizon set up. Honestly, I only plan to fly this inside and in angle mode. Flying inside, I still think angle mode is the way to go, but I set the others up just in case. And here's one thing that's really interesting. I'm going to save this so you can see it. There's no beeper on here, but if you program your beeper on a switch, it turns on the lights, which, you know what? It's not a beeper, but it's still interesting that they at least programmed it to do something. If you turn on beeper, you get a flashing light, which might make it a little easier to see. You never know. It can't hurt. I thought that was kind of cute that they did that. In the CLI, we'll take a look at the version, and it is an Omnibus in 3.16. There, if you want to boot this, I found the boot pins, or at least I think so. Right there, it says jumper, and there's 2 pins back there. I'm assuming that jumper. Oh wait, this thing's called a jumper. I don't know now. I was thinking those 2 pins right there were the boot pins, but I'm honestly not sure. I'm planning on just keeping it like this because it flies fine. I see no reason to make any changes to this for me. Real quick look at my radio settings. To bind it, there is a bind button on here. You just plug that in, or push that button and then plug it in, and that will turn this on. I set up a new model for it and went through bind. This is a D8 model. You need to be on D8. Then the only other thing I changed was I set inputs to my normal inputs. I set SA on channel 5, so that is my ARM. SE is my mode switch, and SC is my beeper. That's just the way I do things, and then turn them all on here. I did also adjust my outputs just a little bit here to make it level. So what that's doing is in, if you haven't seen it before, I adjust those just until the receiver is all set basically on 1500. It was a little bit off. They were all a little bit low. I increased each of those until that was all leveled out. It helps it fly level. So now that we've got it connected and the radio is all set up, the next thing that we need to do is, because this is a tiny whoop, we're gonna see how long it flies on the stock battery. We're just gonna do a standard hover test. So we'll be back. That was without a doubt the most stable micro drone I've ever flown, or most stable tiny whoop by far. I don't know how much you could see it. I always speed that up, but I just set the radio down, and I set it down for a good minute and a half, 2 minutes without touching the sticks. And it wandered around just a little bit, but it stayed there, right there on the table. I've never had that happen. I've always wanted to do that. I've never been able to do it. So that was really impressive. And then at the end, it kind of freaked out. I'm not sure what happened there. I think it's partially due to the ESCs and the brushless motors. I think they probably draw enough extra little power that when they had low voltage, they couldn't handle it. I'm gonna test the voltage here to see what this battery's at. I'm guessing it's gonna be low 3s. Yeah, 3.4, that's not too terribly low, but it's low enough that that seems to be the minimum acceptable for this drone. And I just realized that was not the battery it came with. I actually don't have the battery it came with. I left that at work. So I'm not gonna be able to test that one here. But that's okay because it doesn't come with a charger. You can't get those batteries anyway. And it did really well. It flew for almost 4 minutes on this battery. And this is the eSheen battery that comes with the E10S. So I was gonna recommend these anyway. I didn't intend to test it there, but I just did, and it worked really well. So we're now gonna do a next flight using this again, I guess. We'll do all our tests with these because if you buy this, one battery's not enough, and for $15 you can get 5 of these and a charger. It's just the way to go. But now what we're gonna do is do some test flights around my basement and see how it goes. I'm gonna treat it just like every other tiny whoop that I've used. So this is my secret weapon for frame repair. This frame is the same thing as all of these tiny whoops. So I've repaired a number of them with this, and I've never had to do anything else to them after this. I've seen Lots of different ways people have done it, but just using E600 glue on these frames works outstandingly well. And I bought this at Walmart for like $2, and it's a huge tube. All I have done, make sure I know which one it is. So the frame, I've got it all lined up here. And basically all I do is squirt a little out on this paper towel. Take a toothpick and glob it around the joint, and it'll make it super strong. So there we go. Actually, I just stuck the tip in there a little bit. Just get a little glob on there. I want to be careful not to touch the props. You don't need a lot. That's actually too much, but it'll work. And this is stringy, so pull it away so it doesn't get the strings caught in anything. Now that will be plenty good. The biggest problem with this is it does take a long time to cure. So I was planning on posting this review tomorrow. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle that. We'll get back to that. So unlike some videos, I'm going to take off from a table here. I'm not going to take off from the flat carpet. So we will arm and we'll go. So the picture's, wow, really blurry. I'm guessing I'm on the wrong channel. I need to bring it back and check it out. The control is really good though. Control is really, really good. But the video is really blurry. I think I've got a problem. So can I bring it back and land it back on this table though? I guess that's part of the question. Hello, Cinderella. Let's try a different channel. So I've done a little testing, but not a lot, but I definitely have a video problem. I'm thinking I probably have a power problem with the video camera because it is exceptionally fuzzy. It's not just out of focus, it's really fuzzy. It's still, I can fly with it just fine. But I wanted to go ahead and show you this flight footage because besides that fact, signal low. And that happens, but the control of it is just spectacular. The level of control I've got with this is far superior to any other tiny whoop I've ever flown. And it's got to be the brushless motors. So I haven't had any dropouts or anything. The radio's complaining about it, but it's just fabulous to fly. It's one where I definitely am going to spend some time and try and fix this video because this would definitely, without a doubt, be the one I would grab to fly. It flies much like a higher level of drone. It flies better than the King Kong. It flies better than the E10S. So flight characteristic wise, I am spectacularly happy with this. It's that video that's the issue. And I've got to sort that out because that I can fly it just fine, and I fly so much here. I know where pretty much everything is except for the kids' toys. But I bet if I open this up, I've got a connection problem on here and can sort that out. So I'm gonna have to save that for next time though, because I am literally out of time for this one. But I definitely think it's worth the time. Man, it just flies so well. I wish I had time to fix the video, but I don't. Not this time. Don't have enough time to go through that and check it. So the other thing, okay, there I'm going around pretty quick, and it's nice and smooth. But if I want to go slow, I can go slow just fine. And there we hit the low battery. So that's one other thing it's got. When it hits low battery, it kind of goes bonkers. So you've got to be careful of that. I wouldn't fly this outside. So I'll start with the focus problem. There, you can see there, it looks really nice and clear. So that sorted out the focus problem. It was literally just out of focus. I just twisted the camera and it was about there, which looks about like right. And then I just twisted it back in place. And there it's nice and sharp. It is still loose. If I tighten it all the way, you'll see it goes back out of focus a little bit. So I will need to loosen it. And what I'll do is I'll take this case off and put a little dab of super glue across there once it's in focus, but that was thankfully a really easy fix also. So what do I think of the jumper? I think it's a great flyer. I didn't have any problems with mine at all until I got to really low battery, and then it just kind of goes crazy. Had a focus issue, as you saw, but that's a really easy fix, and it's just a matter of twisting the camera. Literally, that's all it took. It's weird that it comes with a battery. We didn't test that because it doesn't come with a charger. I think these batteries work great, so I would highly recommend the Eachine batteries. We'll link those down below also. Would I have bought it for $120, $130, whatever it was? No, probably not. It's not worth double an E10S. Does it fly better than an E10S? Yes, it definitely does. It's just more nimble. You can tell there's extra power. I feel like I can keep it level better. I feel like it has more control. So I'm gonna have to do some more testing, but this could potentially be my #1 indoor flyer after I test it some more. I'm gonna reserve judgment right now, but I just like the way it feels when I fly it. So here, I'll say for now, here's my 3 picks. If I had to pick for indoor flyers, the E10S is a classic, but a lot of people don't like the antenna sticks up. It's funny, a year ago that was no big deal. Now it kind of is. The King Kong has been a good option also, but just for flight characteristics alone, this one feels like a larger quad. Quick test right at the end to check the scale. We have 18 grams for the E10S. And yeah, it's quite a bit heavier, but I think that might be part of what makes it feel like it flies better. It still has plenty of flight time even with that heavier weight. It's possible the brushless motors are more efficient than the brushed motors and gives it about equal flight time. But I really like it. I don't think it has a huge range. I wouldn't fly it outside. As I mentioned, it's simply an indoor flyer, but it's a really, really good indoor flyer when yours works well. You know what would help? I just thought about this. Has these little vents in the side. The receiver is inside there. If you push that up probably through these antennas and got it away from the circuit board, it would probably cut the RSSI problem I had and make that a lot better. The video stability, now that I think about it, was exceptional. I was kind of focused on the blurriness, but the overall signal strength was really, really good. I didn't have any fuzziness, or I didn't have any cutouts or breakups or any of that at all. That was actually really impressive. So it's not going to be available for long, I don't think, because like I said, it's on clearance for $60 to $70, and plus use a coupon code for an additional some percentage off, and make sure you get it as cheap as you can. There's no reason not to. They do sell additional frames, but if I break those, I broke so many of those posts on these, and that E600, just buy that instead of a new frame and you'll have unlimited frames because it works great. I only let it cure for about 4 hours and it was fine. So if you found this useful, leave a like down below and comment down below if you think they should keep developing the brushless tiny whoops. Should we see a Jumper 2? I like this first one. I know some people had problems, but mine flew great. And while I was testing with the camera and whatnot, I put about 7 batteries through it now. So I've been really happy with it. And like I said, don't use the DYS radio. I used my Tyrannus and it worked fine. Anyway, subscribe so you see all of that and future reviews of everything on the channel. And until next time, remember, brushless is just better.